Hello, Game Day Coaching members. This is Rick Storley with New Home Sales Coach, here to talk about a great and fascinating subject of closing. Well, we're going to go through 17 different closing strategies today, and what I'm going to start with is just to go through the process of closing. When I first started selling, I realized that whenever I had to ask a closing question, that usually my pulse would quicken and I might start to sweat a little bit and get nervous because, of course, I was afraid of the rejection. And over time, after I received some training myself, what I figured out was, the reason that I was getting nervous is because I was, going for the juggler instead of doing a natural progression of some soft closes and test closes and minor closes and some tie downs to make sure that I was flushing objections. So that when I did ask for the order, it was just simply an ending to or I should say a natural ending to a dynamic presentation. So a couple of thoughts here. What I just talked about right now, the minor close. The minor close or the test close is really the best thing that you can do to integrate it into your presentation. So you're always closing, not necessarily for, say, the contract or the check, but you're always closing for the next step. A couple of things to keep in mind is you've got to close about 5 to 7 times in order to get a sale. So in other words, you need to know 5 to 7 personalized closing strategies. Now I'll give you 17 to choose from, so you pick the 5 to 7 that appeal to you. Closing is a two-part process. We're always going to question our way in, or leading with a question, and then we'll question our way out. So let's take a look at the 6 rules. I believe there's 6. Yeah, 6 rules of closing. Number 1 is whenever you're closing for the next step, always have whatever that next step is with you. If you want them to authorize a form, in our case, it might be, say, a selection or design consultation form. It could be a home site reservation form. It could be a plan deposit form, or it could be a purchase agreement. But you always have that form with you. After you ask the closing question, make sure that you shut up and listen. Ask for the order. If you get the buying signals, don't stop selling. Stop presenting. Just go ahead and just ask them if they're ready to move forward. We already talked about that. You got to close 5 to 7 times, and so you're doing this obviously to weed out objections. So these test closes and minor closes and tie downs allow you to get those objections on the table, so you can minimize them and move on to the next step. This is important. Never use the word think. So what do you think about moving ahead? What do you think? Think is an instinctive reaction with your prospects that will cause them to become indecisive and say, well, we do need to think about it. And then closes are going to be stacked on top of one another. So you're going to use multiple closes at once. Let's take a look at some of the techniques. The alternative choice close is a great minor close or test close. Do weekdays or weekends work better for you? The assumptive close is great. So you're just going to assume you're going to keep moving forward. Assumptive handshake close. So you shake their hand and congratulate them on their choice of moving forward. Order form close. This one's okay, but it's where you just begin, filling out your paperwork. That one wasn't my favorite. So maybe you like it. I want to think about a close. This is great. This is one you hear a lot. This is really, boiling down to it's probably price that's the problem. 1 to 10 close is a great minor close. It's simply on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning that this particular idea will not work at all and 10 meaning it's perfect. How would you rate it? And then you get them to tell you what their rating is, and if it's anything less than a 10, you say, well, what will it take to make it a 10? And they tell you the objection, and then you can minimize the objection and get the order. Effective date close, this is a good one. They need some time to think about it. You have them authorize the paperwork and make the date effective. Whatever that time period is, they need to think about it. Usually it's maybe a week or 2. Fact weight and scale close, Ben Franklin close. This is great with your analyticals. You do the T-bar. Summary close, very, very powerful. Review everything that they've liked and ask them if they have any additional questions. The money close is an important one when someone is objecting to price. Reducing to the ridiculous. Yeah, this is okay. It doesn't really work so good anymore. It's a bit cheesy, but it's there where more or less you break down the payment difference to something that is ridiculous. So in this case, $25,000 over the budget boils down to about $11.44 a day. Oblique comparison, sharp angle, puppy dog, 3-question close, additional information close. I like this one a lot. And the invitational close. These are all great strategies for you to use. The last things here are the 10 steps for selecting and designing and acquiring. This will be your next step close. This is the visual that you can use. And then finally, closing worksheets. Happy selling.